Welcome to our interview series with WellNest Global and international holistic experts, Consiliates, exploring new ways of thriving. You can find the series on our YouTube channel at WellNest Global, and make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any of the wonderful conversations that we're having, like our conversation today with Siera Sambrosky. Siera, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. And I'm Valarie Angle Roberts, your hostess. Our intention with this program is to empower our audience with tools and wisdom and resources to assist you in your journey of thriving in this life. So whether that means for you having peace of mind, good health, satisfaction, success, or surprise, we want to be your source of connection and connect you with the wonderful people who can help you find that. So Siera's with us today, and I'm going to ask her to tell us a little bit. Siera, tell us a little bit about yourself and the gifts that you bring to the table.
Sure. Well, I actually have been a business consultant for just about 20 years. Worked with all different types of businesses and all types of stages and industries and sizes. And then in 2010, I actually went back to school for holistic health and counseling, and got a second degree in that, and was keeping all these veins separate. And in about 2014, 2015, I had really come into my spiritual gifts, understanding them. That's a whole path with a different story, maybe for a different time. And was doing all these things in separate veins, right? And not crossing anything over. And then all of a sudden, about 2 years ago, I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever, quite honestly. And I was like, I'm compartmentalizing myself. I believe in integrative, holistic life, that we cannot actually compartmentalize any part of ourselves. Here I am doing it, not going to do it anymore. So I've blended it together into what I like to call intuitive holistic strategy and healing. And what that really means is that I don't believe we can actually compartmentalize anything. And so when people were coming to me for business guidance in whatever form that looked like, I was like, okay, but you have these childhood wounds, or you're going through a divorce. Like, there's something else going on that has to be addressed and dealt with. And for me, I'm sort of extra special, lucky that I have the great gift of intuition and mediumship, which I've had all my life. And so I would get, even before I understood that that was what was happening, I thought I was just coming up with these super genius marketing ideas and stuff. But really, what I came to understand was that I was getting this intuitive information that was telling me exactly where this person, this organization needed to look to kind of unblock and shift and move forward, whatever it is that they were actually asking me to address for them, that there was always this underlying issue. And Spirit would tell me exactly what it is. And they still do that. And I'm blessed for that. And I love to be able to just help people kind of get off that jump point with real clarity. And like, this is what it is. So let's go after that first, and then we'll figure the next steps out. So.
Yeah, that's really special and awesome. I mean, because business mentorship and mentorship in general is wonderful, but when you can harness that, mediumship and that ability to pull in the wisdom from spirit and then share that out with somebody who, like we tend to not be able to always see things about ourselves clearly anyway, because we're so in it.
Yeah.
So that's like where mentorship comes in so valuable. But adding that whole intuitive perspective and that mediumship is pretty awesome. So what can you share with the audience today about how you work with people and how you work with businesses to help them reach their goals, perform better, have more satisfaction in what they do?
Well, I mean, I touched on that a little bit already. So, like I said, people may come to me with saying, hey, our productivity is down and I'm experiencing high turnover, right? Because I work with business owners. Um, and I'll be like, okay, but spirit will ding me with, you have this unaddressed grief, or you have this other thing that's going on. And so we need to look at that first. And just for clarity, so I am a certified grief facilitator. And honestly, when we talk about mission and what's most deeply in my heart is that I feel so strongly that we all experience this grief and loss from all kinds of things. And that can be like a dream that you held, that can be a divorce, it can be the death of a person, it can be the death of an animal, it can be, something major, your business partner left you, you had a big falling out. Like, it can come from all these different places. And what I really know to be true is that grief sits in our bodies and really starts to cast this shadow over our entire lives. And I think in particular, for me, why I work with business owners is because I think so many of us hold up this big front, like we have to be responsible for other people and we need to be looking together for our clients. And, maybe we're raising kids on our own. Like, there's all these things, but I think particularly as business owners, we stand in this place where we're like, I don't have time to process my feelings. I can't afford to basically lose my shit. Sorry if that's not allowed. To just have like a total breakdown. Like, I don't have time for that. There's too many people depending on me for that. And so usually when someone comes to me, they may not even know that they have loss, grief, but they know that it's dark. They know that they're feeling disconnected from themselves, that there's a hopelessness that's going on. And like they do in all the other times in their lives and all the other ways, they want to shift that focus to, but there's something going on with my business. I'll worry about me later. I just need to work with my business. I need to fix that. And so that's where I say, yeah, we can't do that. I can't fix your business without fixing you. And so the way that looks is different for every single person because we all hold that differently and we're all going to respond differently and we all have different root causes for whatever's happening. So, work with them through different kinds of coaching, consulting, strategic action planning for themselves and their business, both things. And energetic healing, having spirit come in and help me really to move the energy and release some of the energetic, emotional stuff that is holding people back. I'm a big believer that therapy is awesome, and I'm a proponent for seeking all of that. And there are sometimes a place where we can energetically clear ourselves of that crap straight off the bat, and then we don't have to fuss around with 4 years of therapy. But
right. There's different modalities for different things, and energy work can be so fast acting and miraculous, and just in itself, and because everything, our business, our personal life, everything that's going on is coming from our inner world. And so when we address that inner world, then it allows all that to come through in the right way, the way that it wants to come through, the way that it's supposed to come through in that shining light, and not get held back and clouded and all of that stuff. So really powerful, I would imagine, for businesses to get that clarity, business owners, and clean house.
Yeah. I mean, I think all people really we all go through some sort of phase in our life, or sometimes many of these phases. I know I've had many phases from different challenges in life where you're like, I wish somebody would just tell me what to do. Like, they would just tell me what the problem is and tell me what to do. And so I have people all the time in session with me, and I'll be like, they'll say, I wish somebody would just tell me. And I'll be like, oh, I can tell you. do you want me to actually answer that? Because if you do, I'll just ask spirit and they'll tell me. And a lot of times they've actually already told me as soon as somebody asks out loud. But yeah, I mean, I think there's no shame in asking for that kind of direct help like that. I think there's a lot of beliefs and a lot of entanglement around the idea that we need to struggle and we need to work through things on our own. It's that hard work is what gets you ahead kind of ethic and belief system, right? That makes us feel like whenever we're facing these challenges, we just have to keep toiling away at it until we figure it out on our own. And that's just not necessary. It's just not.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got someone like you to help them plug in to the,
Yeah.
to the wisdom and get there a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that you said that, because I'm a big believer that this past timeline that we've been on is all about the very masculine action, work hard. You don't get anything if you don't suffer and toil. And I really honor that we're moving away from that and into a softer time of energetic creation, because I truly believe when you're aligned, when you're clear, and you have moved through your emotional baggage or whatever it is that's binding you up from moving forward. I don't necessarily want to say blocked, but just kind of like distracting you.
Yeah.
Then energetically, that's where the power is. When people can come to understand that their energetic power is so much stronger and faster and full of possibility versus their physical capabilities to think or act through things to make things happen, we're really just like kind of running on a rat wheel, when we could just let that go and let the energy do it for us. So you really can help people with that aspect.
Yeah, yeah, and you're spot on about all that stuff. I really firmly believe all that stuff myself, and I always tell people, like, sometimes all of this energy work sounds very woo-woo to people. It can sound it, but that's hard, cold science. Like,
Right.
energy is science. And there are lots of scientific studies that show about our own electromagnetic fields and our ability for, as we think, things become our reality. And there's also psychological reasons for that too, sure, because it shapes our perspective, which shapes our experience, which creates neural pathways and our memories and the way that we perceive things. So, I mean, there's a lot of science to it too. And so it is exciting to see this shift where there's not a push against it, like as being something that you should dismiss or that's flaky or whatever. And I know for me that was part of my journey in getting to where I am now about it. Like, that's why I was compartmentalizing these sort of different aspects of myself as I've gone through my career, because there was a time in my life where when I went back to school for holistic health counseling, people thought that was flaky and weird. And like, what kind of a nut job are you? And let me guess, now you're going to be all like kumbaya. And I mean, there's truth to that. But I remember when that was like the weirdest thing that I did. And now I'm yeah. Now I'm like telling CEOs that your dead grandmother is with you and she wants to talk about what happened at the family reunion. It's like, okay, so once you get over that,
Right.
and you can't deny the reality of these things.
I know. I love to ask people, like, what was your gateway drug into metaphysical? Like, was it crystals? Was it essential oils? Was it was it ceremony? Was it full moon rituals? We all have that like entry point that's like, okay, I'm going to the weird now. But
yeah,
but you know what? You're right. Like, that's what's so exciting is that I love to follow lots of different people, especially on Instagram, that come from different fields, right? So you have medical doctors, very analytical and in their head. You have physicists, you have biologists, chemists, um, all of these different schools of thought, nutritionists, that we're all coming to the same conclusions, right? With that metaphysical understanding that it's all connected. There's no beginning or end. It's infinite. We can plug into it. We have that power and capacity, and we're just kind of barely peeking behind the veil
Yeah.
right now. But they're all in agreement, right? So I think that's so cool to find those aware professionals and to hear them coming from different perspectives, knowing that
Yeah.
that's how it is,
Yeah, and none of it's new, right? Like
right?
Think and Grow Rich had the whole idea around your thoughts become your reality, and that's like from the 1800s, like I know, I think in one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books, maybe You Are the Placebo, but he cites all these studies again from like the late 1800s, 1920s, 1940s. Like people have been studying the power of energy and its emotional connection and how that physically manifests in our bodies and in our lives for a century or more.
Yeah, or
Two
more.
centuries.
I mean, even since tens of thousands of years ago now, they're
Yeah.
discovering in Egyptian history, like, oh, we thought this was like 1,000 or 5,000 years old, but it's actually 20,000 years old,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they have this knowledge. Or Dolores Cannon in her regressions, over and over and over, people from around the world who don't know each other, kind of channeling the same exact messages. And, at what point do you let your guard down and say, okay, there's something to this? It's just too much
Yeah.
coincidence, right? For it not to be substantiated. And,
Yeah.
and so, yeah.
I mean, I say that to people all the time, not as much anymore, but I used to get people that would be a lot more skeptical and be like, listen, I'm just sitting here because I figured it's only, 20 minutes and what difference does it matter? You're going to tell me something for free. And I'd be like, look, I don't need you to believe me. I don't need you to believe me. I trust in spirit, in the divine, that they are not bringing me anything that is not the truth. So you can buy it or not buy it. But when I tell you about, the picture of your great aunt wearing a yellow dress and that time you baked cookies with her when you were 5, there's no freaking way I could ever know that about you. There's just no way,
Right.
So believe it or not believe it, I don't care. But
Exactly.
it
You
doesn't
don't have
make
to
it less
believe it.
true. Yeah.
Right. You don't have to believe it for it to work. And that's, I think my chiropractor has that on his office wall. Like, you don't have to believe it, but it's still going to work, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, segueing from what you just said there. So, what, someone's watching here today, they're, a business owner or entrepreneur, and they're like, this is for me. I know that this is for me. So, so how can they get started in working with you?
So we can always set up a discovery call, and you can just go to my website, which is alchemai, alchemai.com. And there's a button right on there. It talks about some of the different packages I have, and then you can just set a discovery call with me. That's probably the best and fastest way to do that.
Awesome. Cool. And do you have any advice if someone's like, oh my gosh, I've got to start working on this today? Like, how can I connect with this part of myself today, or learn more about this, these needs that I have in my business now? What would you say to them?
I deeply believe, and I say this when I do independent sessions with people, just intuitive sessions with people, I always say, you already know. You already know all these things that I'm going to say to you. There's a lot of times it's just validation. I'm going to bring up something, you're like, I was just talking to somebody about that this morning on the phone. Oh, I had that idea and I wrote it down for myself. that memory of that experience when I was a kid has really been coming up for me, or I just had a dream about it. Like, we each get our own guidance all the time. And so just try and be quiet. I mean, that's hard for a lot of us. And the reality of the situation is it can literally just be 5 minutes a day. And I hate to tell people that they should meditate, because that can be very intimidating to some people, but just try and be quiet for 5 minutes and really think about a question is a great tip. Just think about whatever question it is that you're really looking for guidance on, or you're really looking for some clarity or direction on. And don't dismiss that idea that pops in that seems like it's out of left field, because most likely that is your intuition. If there's a memory that comes up when you ask that question, okay, spend some time thinking about what that memory really brought up for you emotionally or from a belief place. That would be my quick tip.
Yeah, that's a good advice. You're right. And it is, in this distraction filled, busy world. It sounds simple. Oh, just quiet for 5 minutes, but it's challenging, right? You could take that 5 minutes out of your day, and that means don't do things. Like,
Yeah.
stop. Just stop. I've got a little spot in my backyard that I take my little like beach towel, and I lay in the grass and ground, and that's where I go when I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop and just receive. Now I'm just going to receive. And so it's hard for us to do that because we've always got the next thing that we want to do. But once we learn to do it and it incorporate it into our life, so powerful. And then it can become easy once we practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got a special offer for us today too, right?
I do have a special offer. So I am going to offer to anybody listening that's interested a free 15-minute mini intuitive business reading, which actually means, I always tell people this when I start, because I don't believe in compartmentalization. Who knows what's going to come up. But if there's something that you really feel like is stuck in your business, or you need a new idea, or you want to bounce an idea, you can go ahead and schedule that with me, and we'll see what spirit has to bring forward for you.
Amazing. That's so generous. Thank you so much. And then we're going to put these links in the description of the video below. So don't worry about, grabbing a piece of paper. It'll all be there. So you'll just be able to find it and go to the site and learn more about Siera and find the offer, and maybe, look at other offerings to work with her on a deeper level as well too. So we'll put that there for you. And Siera, I just want to give you the floor for a minute and let you connect with the viewers. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you want to share with them today, or that we haven't talked about that you had in mind?
Not really. I feel like I touched on it. I mean, my biggest takeaways that I like to share with people are two things: to know that I deeply and sincerely and personally understand the darkness and the heaviness that can come on us when we keep taking up responsibilities and compartmentalizing it and try to move forward. And there is relief for that. We can lose sight of the joy in life and the freedom in life. And so just know that there is an end to that. And if you need help with that, there's no shame, no matter who you turn to for it. The other thing that I like to leave people with is what I actually just said a minute ago, which is, you already know all the answers for all the things that you feel directionless about, confused about, frustrated about. You already know. And it comes down to learning how to trust ourselves and to listen and then trust what you get. So those are my big messages that I like to share.
Great advice. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much again for your time today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and let everyone get back to what they're doing and go check out the links so they can connect with you and learn more about you, and make sure you find Siera online and follow her social media and stay connected. It's always good to build your community with powerful, positive people who can be a wonderful influence on your mindset and your actions moving forward. So make sure to connect also. But yeah, check out the links and resources in the description below the video. Thank you for being here with us today and for this
Thank
valuable
you.
opportunity. Yes, and we're just so glad to get to know you and to welcome you to our community, Siera. And we'll be back here at WellNest Global with more interviews and videos next week. So subscribe and make sure you tune in and keep growing our community. So we'll see you all later.